Last year on Father's Day, it was just like any other. I'd be up early, waiting for my wife and teenage daughters to join me. I'd treat my wife to mimosas for breakfast, a fancy cheese plate for lunch, and her favorite steak dinner. As the girls grew older, I handled the pampering solo on Father's Day. My wife usually cooked me a special breakfast, though last year was different. It was a different day. I waited until she woke up to eat. I was really hungry by then. When she finally did, she greeted me with a kiss and got to work on a family breakfast, which we enjoyed later on at a quirky cafe with Doctor Who-themed sandwiches. My wife, who is a calendar devotee, manages our life with precision, organizing holidays and kids' activities with ease. She plans all events, from holidays to birthdays. Our calendar is marked with these occasions and they're rarely overlooked. My wife noticed that my birthday coincided with Father's Day, and she joked about double gifts, promising something special. I kissed her cheek, hoping for more than the usual teasing with kisses during foreplay. But on my birthday and Father's Day, these kisses were special treats. I wasn't in the dark about what was going on. I was excited, thinking I might get a rare treat on my upcoming birthday. But as the weeks passed, things took a turn. My wife, who was usually so reliable, started acting strange. She was working late, dressing up more for her job at the bakery, even wearing makeup. I started to have doubts when she went out alone on a Friday, which was unusual for us. We were tight-knit. We were a couple who liked to knit together, and our marriage felt solid. We didn't often go out, but our ideal night was lounging at home. So seeing her dressed up like that on Friday was unexpected. She wore a new skirt, tan stockings and heels, looking like she'd been to the salon. I whistled, thinking we had plans, but she explained she was going out with a colleague. The workers were pretty shocked. I asked why she hadn't mentioned it earlier. She seemed a bit uneasy, but apologized, saying she'd just been asked. I eyed her outfit, wondering how she managed all that in an hour at work. I grew increasingly frustrated, sensing her dishonesty, but I couldn't confront her. Her infidelity seemed unfathomable. She embodied the typical suburban wife and mother. Our sex life remained vibrant, which added to my confusion when she brushed off my suspicions, saying she'd worked half a day and wanted to look nice. I was left speechless. As she rushed out the door, she came back near midnight. Her hair was tied up quickly, which made me think she wasn't there for long. She went straight to the shower without saying anything, which left me confused. It seemed like something was wrong in our perfect life. I couldn't shake the feeling that something bad was about to happen, especially since I worked in retail. On Saturday morning, as I was getting ready for work, my wife didn't wake up to say goodbye like she usually did. I was surprised to see Missy, the morning barista, at the store. As soon as I saw her, I was drawn in by her striking blue eyes and red hair. Despite being happily married, I found myself intrigued by redheads. "Hey, Bill," she called out as I approached the entrance, which was still locked half an hour before opening time. Missy had mentioned feeling uncomfortable with the night crew, so I greeted her cheerfully, unlocking the doors. "What's up, Bill?" she observed, her eyes twinkling. "You look down." I took a moment to collect my thoughts. "I've got a lot on my mind today," I admitted. She gave me a curious look, but she didn't pry. "Give me a sec," I told her. "I'll get you some of our best coffee," she offered, and I had to smile. I replied that it sounded good and that I'd join her soon. I secured the doors while she got ready for the busy morning ahead. I knew how busy our little cafe became once the store opened, so I made my rounds on the floor, checking in on the department crews. My competent department managers made these checks unnecessary, but I liked to check in on my team and chat with them. I thought they appreciated the effort, and I liked to think they appreciated me. My final stop was I went to the coffee shop where Missy had my usual large black coffee ready. "Here's your cup of Megamar's finest brew," she said, handing it over. "Thanks," I replied, pushing $2 across the counter. "No need for payment today," she insisted. "Can't take any chances," I explained. "I cover all my expenses here. Last thing I need is someone causing trouble with corporate." "I'd never do that," she gasped. "Bill, I'd never do that," Missy said. "I can't risk it. Even for a $2 coffee, you'd be surprised what I have to deal with, denying someone. I had the day off or cut back on overtime, and it just wasn't worth it." I explained everything to my boss, who understood. I waved goodbye and took a sip of my coffee. I knew that some employees probably get free coffee sometimes, but it was impossible to keep track of. It wasn't worth monitoring video footage just to make sure everyone paid their share as the company's leader. I faced risks dealing with employee frustrations over trivial matters like parking regulations, which led to unnecessary HR calls. The day passed quietly with the highlight. As an old lady stealing cat and bird food, It provided the distraction I needed to keep me occupied without dwelling on my marital issues. When I got home, I found my wife and daughters heading out to a concert with other families. I had forgotten that it had been planned and noted on the calendar. I hoped to speak with Katie later, eager to resolve our recent tensions. I didn't know what had transpired the previous night, which left me with little else to dwell on tonight. I seized the chance to snoop around and checked. I checked her email, hoping for some clues, but there were none. I couldn't check her text or call log, and I couldn't call her to ask about her day. I also checked her clothes for clues, but she'd already done her Saturday laundry. Frustrated, I went to bed after the movie, feeling just as unsettled as I had on my birthday and Father's Day. I started my day as usual, toast and coffee on the terrace. It was beautiful out, with birds chirping, and I thought about what the day would bring around 9. I went back inside to get more coffee and found my wife and daughters up and packing lunch. I was surprised by their early activity, so I asked what they were doing. Jill said they were going to the beach, which caught me off guard because they left right away. I realized they remembered my birthday, unlike how I often had to remind them of important dates. I was confused by Katie's oversight, so I got a call from Mai. I was hoping it was them coming back, but it wasn't. Happy birthday and Father's Day. I'm not sure what's going on lately. She's been acting strange for weeks now. Mom said, "Don't worry about it. She probably has something special lined up for later." "I've got to head to church. Love you, Billy," Mom assured me. Love you, Mom. Mom's eternal optimism and her close relationship with Kathy always warmed my heart, especially since Dad passed away a few years ago. I stood. They were discussing the state of my marriage when the phone rang once more. It was my assistant, Bill. There had been an incident at the coffee shop that morning. What happened was Missy was on the stairs when a customer shoved her. She lost her balance and took a fall. "Oh my goodness, is she all right?" "They've taken her to St. Alex's Hospital for x-rays." "Oh, it looks like she might have a broken arm or something." "Poor girl. Do you need me to cover her shift?" "No, everything's sorted. I just wanted to give you a heads up for tomorrow. I apologize for reaching out on Father's Day." "Don't worry about it. Thanks for letting me know. I hope Missy was all right, but assuming they wouldn't return, I went to IHOP for breakfast. The bustling atmosphere filled with happy families celebrating fathers overwhelmed me, and I left to avoid breaking down. I went to McDonald's instead. I had a great breakfast at McDonald's, with coffee and orange juice, sitting in the park. I thought about boating trips with my daughters when they were young and how they've grown distant as they've got older and started college. They've been spending more time with their mom, which is probably for the best. I knew there'd be no dinner together as the day went on, so I grabbed a Reuben at the Docks Theme Cafe. My Facebook post got the usual Father's Day wishes, but my mom and my wife had been posting beach photos, so I was surprised when my wife's mother-in-law said she didn't want to go on the beach trip. I went to a sports bar but soon went back to a cigar lounge, where I watched the game while enjoying a pricey Opus X. I was invited to join a group playing cards. "I'm Bill." I introduced myself to the older gentleman. "I'm Lance, and this is my brother Jerry." "Pleasure to meet you. I met you both." They finished their handshake and included me in their little 5-card game. "Grab yourself a drink, Bill," Lance offered, placing the cooler on the floor. I expressed gratitude and opted for a Miller Lite. "No kids, or did the ex take them with a new guy?" Jerry quipped with a smirk. I frowned and replied, "My wife and the girls are at the beach. It seems like they've—" I lost track of the day. It was a shame. Lance chimed in. "I hardly see my boys. They're both in the service." Jerry nodded, adding, "My daughter's out in California. My grandson Charlie just turned 2. I'm heading there next week." "That sounds wonderful," I said as my daughters hit 17 and 18. I began longing for the days of them being little. They nodded in agreement. Eventually the conversation eventually came back to my wife. "Is it possible that she genuinely forgot, or is she avoiding you?" Jerry asked, echoing my own thoughts. They recounted the recent weeks and Friday's issues, and Jerry asserted that she's cheating on you. Lance agreed, and I muttered, grappling with the revelation. I knew it was true, though deep down I knew it made Lance then told me about his own experience. He said he'd been through something similar, with sudden changes in behavior, late nights out, dressed provocatively, and a lack of respect. He regretted his initial reaction of divorcing his unfaithful wife and highlighted the financial and emotional toll it took. He urged me to consider forgiveness if I truly loved her. He said it'd be better for me in the long run. Guys in their 42nds don't often get second chances at love. Thank you, Lance. You've given me a lot to think about. I might have said it aloud, but deep down I thought he was crazy. Forgiving her for cheating and staying married seemed impossible. I shook both men's hands and left. I said goodbye and left as I scrolled through Facebook on the couch. It was dinner time and I saw my daughter's and wife's posts, which were full of pictures from their day. It made me even sadder. I thought it was time to face reality. My wife had forgotten my birthday and Father's Day. What did it matter? What counted was my certainty that she had cheated. After Friday night's strange behavior, it seemed like she was trying to rub it in my face. I decided to move forward, and I treated myself to dinner at my favorite restaurant. After a shower and putting on my sport coat and slacks, I went to the steak place and sat at the bar. While I was waiting for a table, an older man sat down next to me. He noticed my champagne bottle and frowned, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he ordered a martini from the bartender. He asked me if I was celebrating alone or if I was taking someone else's place. I told him I was just celebrating for myself. He nodded and took a sip of his drink. It turned out that he was waiting for his family. Despite his daughter breaking her arm earlier, he chuckled, noting the unexpected nature of grown children breaking bones. I nodded in agreement. It looks like I'll be cooking solo for a while. My wife needs to focus on taking care of Missy and Mia and leave me be. Suddenly, a little girl called out, "Grandpa," and dashed across the crowded bar, showering everyone with kisses. The man gave me a big hug and kiss. Then I heard my name. Missy and her mom came over. They looked alike. I said, "Hey, Missy, how's your arm?" "Not bad," she said. "The painkillers are doing their job, but it was rough when they said it." Missy introduced me to her parents, Jack and Mary, and their daughter, Mia. I asked, "Where's your wife?" Mary asked, "I'm not sure. I think she took the girls to the beach this morning, but I haven't heard from them all day." "It's your birthday, too." Mary said, "That's terrible. What's going on with her?" I shrugged and said, "Forget about her. You're joining us." Mary said, "I want to know what Jack meant by red rage. You don't want them." "To gang up on you, Bill," he chuckled as if it were a testament to his experience dealing with familial conflicts. "But it's your day, Jack. I don't want to intrude," I replied. "Nonsense," he retorted. "This is our day. Bill, Grandpa, remember?" As their table's buzzer sounded, he tossed a $2 bill and left, insisting I meet him at our table. "Sorry about that, Bill. My parents can be stubborn." I apologized. "Don't worry, Missy. It would have been worse if I'd eaten alone." I told her the dinner conversation was light and full of stories about our daughters. Mia giggled at stories of her mom's childhood. Later, my phone rang, but I ignored it and put it on the table. "Your wife, Mary, called." She said, "Yes, it's complicated." I told her, "Maybe you can find a way to forgive her." He suggested I take a look at Jack. I signaled for the check, expressing my GR attitude for the meal. As I signed the check, I thought about the advice I'd received, despite lacking solid evidence of her infidelity. I ignored the persistent ringing of my phone and wondered what was wrong with people as I pulled into the garage. My daughters greeted me with kisses and hugs, apologizing for forgetting Father's Day. "Girls, it's okay. I don't expect you to remember my birthday. We were at the beach today and we didn't realize it was your birthday. Don't worry, I'm not upset with you." I comforted her, but I didn't express my anger towards her mother. It was my issue, not my daughter's. I ignored the chaos in the kitchen and went upstairs. When I came back, I found my wife sobbing alone. "I'm sorry," I whispered. She shook her head and left. I went out to the deck with a beer and a cigar to enjoy the evening. My wife interrupted me. "Bill, what's his name?" I interjected my anger. She didn't respond, and I realized I was headed for divorce. Marrying her had been a mistake after nearly 20 years. I began fearing the worst. How long had she been unfaithful? Was he her first? Did I even know? I started to wonder if these girls were really mine. It's incredible how negative thoughts can invade your mind when you're mistreated. I decided to request a paternity test for the girls as part of the divorce, not only for my peace of mind, but also to embarrass Katie. I spent the night researching divorce laws online before falling asleep on the couch. How I spent my birthday waking at 5 in the morning. I found Katie peacefully asleep in my bedroom. Despite my restless night, she looked serene. Sadly, she was no longer mine, but I couldn't help admiring her beauty. After a quick shower, I left without waking her. I was met by Jill in the hallway. "How bad is it, Dad?" I sighed. "It's just one day's mistake." She pleaded with me. "Honey, it's more than forgetting my birthday or Father's Day. She cheated on me." I told him, "No, Dad, she wouldn't do that. Something must have pushed her, but I won't accept it. Think about it. She's been acting strange for weeks." On Friday night, after getting all done up, she went out dressed provocatively. "That wasn't for you," Jill reasoned. She avoided me all weekend. Clearly she felt guilty or resentful toward me and didn't want to be around me at all. "When has she ever taken you to the beach without me? It's always a family outing. What if it's not an affair? What if it was just a one-time thing? Can't you forgive her for once?" Jill pleaded, I doubt that's the case, honey, but look at her actions this weekend. Has she shown love toward me? And sat her on the couch. She kept repeating that she loves you. Honestly, Jenny wanted to call an ambulance for her. We calmed her down and convinced her to call you. Jill continued, I don't know what to say, Jill. She doesn't love me. You can't cheat on your spouse and claim to love them. That's not love, it's selfishness. Love should be selfless. When she was with another man, she abandoned me. I concluded she hugged me tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. I don't think it was just some random guy she met at a bar. There must have been some flirting or her accepting his advances, maybe even some pleasure touches and kissing and caressing, all leading up to her being with him. It's a betrayal to your spouse to show carnal affection to someone else when you're in love. I don't think you should divorce her. I have to head to work now, but we'll talk more later. We had a chat with Jenny, and there are no more secrets in our family. I wondered how long we'd stay a family despite Kathy's likely busy schedule. I felt calm throughout the day. The only unusual thing was dealing with the paperwork related to Mrs. Accident. I helped her fill out the accident report, and I knew she wasn't good with her left hand, so I signed it for her. I felt a pang of concern for her well-being. As she was his home, I asked how she was. She said she wasn't good. I replied that she hadn't denied the affair when I confronted her about the bill. She said she was sorry and murmured that she probably didn't want to hear my story, but I got it. My ex had cheated on me when I was pregnant. I kicked him out before our daughter was born. My mom wasn't pleased. She basically called me disposable. I found that surprising. I found it strange when my mom mentioned forgiving my wife last night. She was looking right at your dad. She revealed, yeah, I noticed. I'm not sure who, but it makes me think one of them was cheating. I'm sorry, but she offered no need. If they're happy deceiving each other, let them. I'd rather not trust a liar. I stated firmly, Kathy wasn't home when I returned from work. She was probably. I was really angry. I drove to her grocery store and saw her car. She was with a young man. She seemed to yell no at me as I approached, but I left before she could say anything. If she was cheating, he could have her. I drove home, packed my bags, and decided to stay in a hotel until I found an apartment. Jenny and Jill begged me to stay. They asked me to stay, but I explained that I'd seen their mom almost cheating with a man in her car after work. I said there must be a mistake. Jenny pleaded with me, saying, I saw what I saw. There's no innocent explanation for her being in the back parking lot with a man in her car. I told her, please don't break up our family. Jenny started crying and I said, your mom did that, not me. I love you girls. I'll keep in touch every day. I reassured them before leaving them in tears and heading to the garage. As I drove out of the garage, Katie nearly hit me as she sped away. The following week was utter torment. I ignored all of my wife's calls and she bombarded me with messages every hour. She was likely taking a week off work to do so, despite my pleas for my family and Kathy's sister. None of them would confirm her infidelity when I asked. I was frustrated, so I stopped taking their calls and asked my daughters to avoid mentioning their mother. Eventually, I spoke to a lawyer and we agreed to split the house equally, even though I could have claimed a larger share due to my larger contributions. I was surprised to find out that I didn't have to pay alimony since Kathy could support herself. The only downside was that I didn't have concrete proof of her affair, which could weaken my case in court. However, I was willing to take my chances. My lawyer prepared for divorce proceedings and life carried on. There'd be no forced mediation or lengthy legal battles. The split was fair and obvious to any judge, but nothing was plain sailing when she was served the papers. She rallied her family against me again, saying she only cheated once on that Friday before my birthday. Yet her relatives made me out to be the villain for not hearing her out. It was surreal. Even my daughters resisted until I fibbed about a court order for a DNA test. Kathy's letter arrived, admitting to a fling with a 21-year-old. A year later, I was spared the need to prove infidelity for the divorce. Karma was on my side. She resisted the divorce at first, but the judge approved it when he saw the terms I proposed and her admission of infidelity in the letter. I was to be divorced in 60 days. I was isolated for refusing to talk to her. I was labeled immature and stubborn. Even my mother and daughters stopped talking to me. It hurt. But I stuck to my principles. I called my daughters every day, even though they didn't answer. I didn't want them to blame me for the lack of communication. I tried to stay in touch as much as I could. One thing I did was have coffee with Missy on Sundays. We met at a local coffee shop where she and Mia lived nearby. I told her about my struggles while Mia watched cartoons. I told her that your daughters will come around. Bill, she said, I know you're living with your wife, and I don't know what she's been telling them, but I hope it's not too much. I just miss them so much. The following week, I went back to the same store at the usual time and was engrossed in reading when I heard a familiar voice say, "Hey, stranger." I smiled and welcomed them to join me again. "Are you stalking me, or is this your usual routine?" She joked. "No, I live nearby and I enjoy having on Sunday mornings. I like to have coffee and read. It can get a bit lonely at home." I got chatting to her about the neighborhood until we said our goodbyes. Meeting every Sunday wasn't planned, but it became a habit. I enjoyed her company, and little Mia was a delight on the day the divorce was finalized. I knocked on the front door of my former house. My wife answered, and I could see she was in tears. She invited me in. I asked the girls if they were home. They were at a school musical. "I knew you'd come tonight." She admitted that I'd waited until it was too late to stop it. I smirked and said, "Yes, you did." She admitted that she knew I'd try to beg and plead, but she couldn't let that happen. She said that I'd broken her heart and that there was no forgiveness for that. "It was one mistake, Bill. Why couldn't you forgive me?" she pleaded. "Did you love me when you were with that guy? Did you?" I asked her to love me when she ignored me on my birthday. She said that if that's her idea of love, then it's beyond repair. She said that she never wanted this to happen. She started to cry and said that she never wanted a cheating wife. I said that she had broken my heart and that she had also turned my own mother and daughters against me. I said that I would never forgive her for that. She said that I had acted irrationally. "If you don't make things right with my family, I'll tell every man you date about your infidelity. I don't need anyone else to do it." She grabbed my arm as I stood to leave. "It's not my fault," she pleaded. "Oh, really? Did I cheat on you?" "You've made cheating seem okay to our daughters. They'll think it's fine because you've convinced them it's not a big deal." She said it was just a one-time thing. "Well, I'm not going to let some idiot who made you feel hot get me fired." I pulled my hand away from hers. "I hope you rot in hell for ending our marriage over a fling." I walked away, leaving her in tears, and didn't care about her distress. A few weeks later, Missy knocked on my office door. "Bill, come on in," she said. I didn't look happy, though, and I was already anticipating bad news. "Bill, does the company have rules about dating coworkers?" I didn't like this question. I was hoping to ask her out myself, but it seemed I was too late. "We have strict intimidation policies to protect against potential issues arising from workplace relationships." I explained that's what I hope for, and she said, "Good, that's what I hope for too." She left her contact details on my desk, her address and phone number. "Let's have dinner tomorrow night. Mia will join us." I smiled and agreed, feeling grateful for the chance at happiness. "Hey, it's Dad. I hope you and your sister are doing well. Nothing new here except a CO worker asked me out anyway. Love you and miss you. Call soon. Bye." I knew this message might stir up trouble, but I didn't mind. I needed to move forward, and I was glad Missy had taken the lead. She was not only beautiful, but also had a wonderful character, and her daughter was delightful. I had already met her parents. Things were finally looking up. Just 15 minutes later, Katie texted me, calling me a fool for already dating. I chuckled at her delusion. I had no intention of mourning the end of my marriage to a cheating wife at 41. I felt young enough to find love again, and even consider having more kids. In her 30 seconds, she might be open to that idea. It was still early days, but as a single mom, it could be a priority for her. As for me, I hadn't been intimate in months. The next evening after work, I showered, shaved, and dressed casually. Glancing in the mirror, I was satisfied with what I saw. I was in good shape, no extra weight, and my brown hair showed no signs of gray. I had a steady job and savings, and I thought I was a catch, especially for someone like Missy. But I realized I had no idea how to navigate the dating scene. Marriage provided comfort and familiarity, from holding hands to intimacy. Dating was uncharted territory. I had to relearn everything about lovemaking with my ex-wife. I knew exactly what pleased her. Now I just hope the next woman enjoys the same things, or at least has a good rapport with her body. I worried I rushed back into dating too soon. I arrived at her house with wine, flowers, and a stuffed animal for Mia. I aimed to win her favor. When Missy opened the door, I was taken aback. Her curly red hair cascaded around her shoulders, complemented by she wore just the right amount of makeup. A breezy sundress that showed off her beautiful legs, and was barefoot with hot pink toenails that matched her fingernails. I blurted out, "God, yes, I passed the test," before I could take it back. She laughed and accepted the gifts, ushering me in with Mia engrossed in TV. I knelt beside her, offering her the stuffed bear, and her apprehension turned to delight as she eagerly took it. I watched Missy scampering off to show Delilah. I thought about Jenny and Jill at Delilah's age and realized how much I missed them. "What's wrong?" Missy asked, snapping me out of my reverie. "Nothing," I replied, "just thinking about my daughters when they were Delilah's age." "Is it really that bad?" she asked. They still won't talk to me. Kathy's turned them against me and I can't change their minds, but I'm trying to reach out to them every day and I won't stop. I'm really sorry, Bill. I know this is a difficult situation for you, but I'm hoping they're listening to my messages. I mentioned our date tonight and Katie texted me calling me out for getting to the point so quickly. Is that too fast? She bit her lip, looking cute. Maybe, I replied honestly, but I'd be happy to find out with you. She smiled, taking my hand. Dinner is ready. I hope you like pasta with meat sauce, it sounds great. I have garlic bread too, so we can make out on the couch later if you want. Miss was really candid. She sensed my awkwardness and said, Bill, we're both adults and I've known you for 3 years. I know what kind of man you are, and it doesn't take much to realize that I really like you. You're going to be a hot commodity soon, so I want to stake my claim early. You're a big deal. I told her, you have no idea how much buzz the news of your divorce has caused at the store. Honey, your appearance on the market, so to speak, has caught the attention of many unmarried ladies. You're a handsome man in good shape. You're smart, stable, and we all know how you feel about fidelity. I'm getting in line early, she said. I grasped her hand. I like you too, Mia chimed in. Skay's my favorite. I like Skay too. The fattier the better, I quipped, eyeing the Parmesan cheese jar. You must have really pungent cheese, I added, jokingly. She giggled and corrected me. It's not stinky cheese, it's Parm. Stinky cheese, she teased, pretending to sniff the jar dramatically. Wow, this is really stinky cheese. It really is quite stinky cheese, Missy chuckled, shaking her head as Mia poured. A generous amount over the spaghetti during dinner, we chatted lightly. I inquired about Mia's preschool adventures and she eagerly shared every detail. It was a delightful exchange. I soon noticed Mrs. quiet contentment as she observed us as she began clearing plates. After tucking Mia into bed, Missy joined me on the couch, handing her a glass of wine. She relaxed and said, being a mom is the highlight of my day, but moments like these are precious. I instinctively embraced her and she nestled closer. I admitted, it's even busier with 2. Your girls will come around, she said. I hope so, I replied, thinking about their situation. She kissed my cheek and told me not to give up on them. She put her glass down. Bill, I've made it clear that I like you. I'm not interested in playing games. I want to keep seeing you, and that includes inviting you into. I started to interject, but she raised a finger. I know you want to be a gentleman, but you don't have to be. I'm not looking for casual flings. I want an exclusive relationship. My daughter needs a father figure, and I need a husband. That's what I'm offering. I attempted to speak again, but she met my words with resistance. Usually, guys lose interest after this conversation. I don't think you're like that, but I'm offering you a chance to think it over. If you're looking for something casual, I'm not your match. But if you're interested in building something lasting, then I'm here. Impressive, I remarked. Was that rehearsed or spontaneous? She frowned, misunderstanding my reaction. We've been working together for 3 years, and our recent coffee meetings have been great. I'm a family man, and I've always been. I don't know how to navigate the single scene, and the idea of dating terrifies me. If my wife hadn't strayed, I'd still be happily married. I'm not interested in that lifestyle. She smiled, taking my hand. You're charming. You're intelligent and your spaghetti is fantastic. We shared a laugh and she playfully nudged my shoulder. I'd like you to be my boyfriend and build something meaningful together, including with your daughter. That night, we refrained from intimacy despite the temptation. I decided to take things slow and respect both our feelings. A stroke of luck came my way. I got an application for a managerial position, but I never learned who it was that contributed to the demise of my marriage. Then fate intervened when he applied for the night manager role and I recognized him instantly. I got him the job, and I was looking forward to getting back at him on his second night. I left a 40-inch TV in his car, which was the same make and model as mine. I knew it would probably be out of stock by morning, so I arrived as his shift ended and walked him to his car while we chatted about his team. I noticed the TV in the back seat and said, Jeff, did you buy that TV today? We're not open yet and there's no bill. I don't know how it got there. Let's go back to the store. He reluctantly agreed to go back to the store. When we got back, he seemed really scared, and there was no night security. The security system covering the camera was disabled by Tape One. I saw that the system was malfunctioning. He saw that it was malfunctioning and got really worried, saying he was innocent. I contacted the police, but I was hoping for harsher consequences. He got a misdemeanor in community service. The company finally acknowledged that there were security gaps in the parking lot cameras. He never suspected me and tried to blame his team. I was fired without much of a fuss. One cold Saturday morning, about a week after my dinner with Missy, I found her waiting in the car to keep warm as I parked next to her. She greeted me with a kiss and confirmed our dinner plans for the night. "Absolutely," I replied. "I have something special I'm cooking for us. You won't want to miss it." She added before I could respond. Katie's interruption came from behind me. Missy was visibly irritated and addressed her. "Katie," what I said, "do you want me to call you?" I was getting annoyed. "I'd been trying to call you. Did you block my number?" "Yeah, after your 30 messages about how I'm in prick for continuing to live. I'm done. What do you want?" "We need to talk about the girls in college." Katie said they can go wherever they want. I've handled the finances for them. I'd like to be involved, but thanks to you, they won't talk to me. Their tuition. Missy interjected with a laugh. I lost them in the divorce. This retort earned her a glare from Katie, who then blamed me for not forgiving her one mistake. "You cost me my marriage, my family, my daughters, and my mother. You better never date again if I find out you'll never see a second date." I warned Missy's rebuttal was sharp. No one wants to date a cheating woman unless they're looking for easy sex. I headed towards the store, but I heard Missy shouting something behind me, so I glanced back and saw her confronting Katie. She was pushing her against the car and yelling, "Stay away from my man." I quickly stepped in and pulled Missy away. I told her to stop, but she kept going. Katie was getting upset and stormed off. I told her to calm down and that it was over between them and that she was to blame. I then went to find Missy, who was still sobbing by the car. I took her hand and apologized to her. I told her that I was sorry and that I had just got a bit territorial. She accepted my apology and we went to park. I've found that lot fights are great for the ego. I joked and we went inside laughing later. My mom called, but the call cut off abruptly, so I rushed to her house, ignoring Missy's calls. When I arrived, I found the ambulance gone. She'd passed away before reaching the hospital. I was alone in the ER lobby, pondering her last words when Missy called. She said, "Hey, my mom just passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you. I'm worried I won't be much company tonight. No worries. I'll be there for you if you need me. Please let me come over." I was reluctant to be alone, so I was grateful she agreed to keep me company. As I walked into the driveway, I felt a wave of apprehension enter through the garage. I was relieved not to find Kathy's car because I wasn't ready to face her. The downstairs rooms were empty, so I made my way upstairs to the bedrooms. When I entered Jill's room, she exclaimed, "What's up?" Jenny followed behind me and asked, "Did you come here to beg?" I felt it was important to share this news in person. Now I feel like I've damned myself. I added. I exited and shut the door, ignoring Jenny's call to wait, and drove off. I went to the small lake where we once shared joyous moments despite the chilly weather. The tranquil waters brought solace. Seated at a picnic bench, tears welled up again, not just for my mother but for the estrangement from my daughters. Jenny's anger conveyed all I needed to know. I had doubts. I was thinking about my past actions, not with Katie but with my girls. What had I done to earn their resentment? Katie's betrayal had shattered our family, yet my daughters couldn't see it. Lost in thought, I heard footsteps nearing. I looked up and saw Katie and the girls approaching, pass away or turn her against me. She fell silent. "Leave me alone. I can't deal with your stuff right now." I said, "I'll never forgive you." The last time we spoke, she insisted she wouldn't talk to me until I backed out of the divorce. She didn't even say she loved me before hanging up. "I'm so sorry, Bill," she said before leaving. Then Jenny spoke up. "Dad, we're sorry too. Please forgive us for being rude." They both rushed over to hug me, and we cried together. "It wasn't my fault, girls. Your mother's actions broke us apart." I said we were sorry, Dad. Jill said we just wanted you to forgive her. She loves you, but she didn't stay faithful. I replied, "Jill, I'm sorry," I said tearfully. We hugged again while Kathy watched from the car. "Girls, I need you. You'll leave for college soon and I'll miss you. We're wasting time." I said, "We understand, Daddy." Jenny said, "We won't shut you out anymore. I wish Grandma had the chance to." Jill added, "Can we come with you, Dad? We haven't seen your new place yet. Maybe we could grab pizza." "Sure, let your mom know. Let's head out." As I pulled into my driveway, I spotted Missy's car. I had forgotten she was coming. "Looks like you'll meet Missy," I told the girls. They asked simultaneously, making me chuckle. "Yeah, well, we just started dating." "Look at him blushing," the girl said, making me laugh. "Oh, well, that's cute," I replied. "Jenny." They dashed out of the car and bombarded Missy with questions. Missy had a lot of questions, so I helped her inside and introduced her to the girls. They gave her a break and helped her inside. I apologized for the confusion. Missy opened the door with a radiant smile and kissed my cheek. She asked if she could call me Dad. I nodded and said, "Come on, let's make proper introductions." I hoped I looked okay. "I must look awful. You're fine." They'll like you. Jenny and Jill, this is Missy. They embraced. Jenny and Jill said, you're super hot. Missy laughed and said, good for you, Daddy. I was too stunned to respond, so Latun did a quick tour of the house. I'll handle some things for Grandma's services, Bill, and order pizza while you show them around. I decided to wait until the next morning to tell anyone about my mom's passing. I'll write an obituary for Monday's paper and share the service details on Facebook tomorrow evening. After visiting the funeral home, we spent hours sharing stories about my mom and my girls and a few embarrassing tales about myself. I was just trying to keep Missy entertained. I didn't mean to slip on the wet pier and fall into the lake. It was already 10 p.m. Time is flying by, and it's getting late. I told them they could stay the night, but I don't have beds for the guest rooms yet. I'll tell you what, I'll pick you up in the morning and we'll go out for breakfast. If you don't mind, we could help sort through Grandma's things too. Jill offered. Thank you. I replied, Missy, would you like to join us for a ride, or do you need to go home to Mia? Jill's curiosity was piqued. Who's Mia? Mia is my I'm not sure exactly how old she is. I told them about my daughter and they were really excited, saying how much they wanted to meet her. Missy laughed at how keen they were. I said I'd introduce them to her soon, and we went back to my house. Missy said they were great girls, and I said I was glad I'd been able to get in touch with them. I just wish it hadn't taken my mom's passing to bring us back together. The next morning, I woke up with Missy still snuggled against me under a blanket. I felt a sense of longing for closeness, so I kissed her head and apologized for falling asleep. She moaned, It's okay, baby, you've had a very emotional day. Would you like to join me? And I took the girls for breakfast, but I had to bring Mia. My parents had plans, but I knew my daughters would love her. I arranged to meet them at IHOP. As I walked in holding Mia's hand, my girls rushed over. They embraced her, twirled her around, and showered her with kisses, making her squeal and giggle. The girls announced in unison that they needed to go to the bathroom. I'll take her, I said, whisking Mia away. Do you think they'll get along? I asked. Missy playfully clapped me on the shoulder and kissed my cheek. I hope they remain friends for years to come, she said. Although it was just our first date, she expressed a long-term commitment. They made a long-term commitment, which was a bit surprising but also reassuring. We ate dinner with Mia and my daughters, chatting non-stop about everything. Mia showed genuine interest in their lives, asking lots of questions. My daughters, who were used to babysitting, got along with Mia really well, chatting about their shared interests in kids' shows and movies. Surprisingly, they also got along well with Missy, who showed no hostility or anger towards her, unlike their initial reaction to my dating. This puzzled me, but I decided to wait and see. I wanted to talk it over with them later, after a busy day of phone calls, cleaning my mom's house and visiting the funeral home. I finally got a chance to relax when the girls came back for dinner, and Missy and Mia went their separate ways during breakfast. Missy suggested we avoid the emotional strain of Mia's questions while sorting out my mom's house. Jenny asked abruptly, Daddy, are you in love with Missy? We've only seen each other a few times outside of work. It's too early to say it's love. Okay, Dad, Jill said. You know that look in cartoons where girls get all dreamy-eyed and hearts flutter? That's Missy when she looks at you, Jill said before I could object. They exchanged looks and then declared we like her. I went from feeling happy to feeling angry, setting my pizza down. I went to the sink to cool off. Daddy, Jenny asked, how could you shut me out all this time and now say you like my girlfriend? What did I do to deserve this? Do you know how many times I cried after leaving you messages? I didn't want to hear any of it. My mom said that if we felt distant, we could come back to her and we'd be a family again. We're really sorry. I saw Jenny's eyes tear up and she rushed to hug me. Dad, we're sorry. When that didn't work, she said we'd abandoned you and wouldn't pay for college because we wanted you to stay with her. She said your messages during the divorce were just tactics to win favor with the judge. You believed her, Dad. Can you imagine sitting with her every day, hearing her defend one mistake against 20 years of love? We thought you were being unfair. What if it was you? Would you forgive your boyfriend for cheating? There was no response. I demanded clarity. Give me a clear answer. They wept, and our hug calmed me. I've missed you both so much. I said after they professed their love. Time to go home. School's tomorrow. Make sure your mom tells them about the wake and funeral. You'll need time. After a week off, I watched them drive off, feeling warm inside. I looked at the sky and said, thanks for bringing my girls back, but you didn't have to leave. I'll miss you. Wakes are always hard for me. Being near a deceased body is unsettling. My mom's wake was especially tough. I found solace in seeing her peaceful face. I knew she'd reunite with my late father, who avoided wakes. Mom planned her meticulously, even choosing the casket. I was relieved to see that everything was in order. I had a chat with one of her friends, Katie, and my daughters arrived, tearful. The girls gave me a hug while Katie stepped aside, showing respect. After the prayer, Kathy placed something in the casket and sat at the back. I saw it was a photo of Kathy, me, and my mom, all holding our babies. I was touched and took the photo and put it by my mom's hands. During the service, Kathy stayed seated at the back chatting with everyone. With family members, we showed her enduring presence in our lives. The standard rule was for immediate family to sit in the front row, but it didn't feel right seeing Katie at the back, tears in her eyes. I knew my mom wouldn't have wanted it that way, so I walked over and invited her to join us. "Come here," I said. "No need to hide." She hugged me gratefully and whispered a thank you back in front of my Uncle John, who offered her his seat. My ex-wife was nearby, and she also praised my mom. I held Missy's hand while my ex-wife and I said goodbye to the last visitors. My wife was nearby, and it felt a bit surreal. I was hoping it wouldn't cause any issues later on as we said goodbye to the last visitors. Kathy thanked me for welcoming her into the family and offered to share the limo ride. Missy's hand on my waist. I was a bit worried about how things would go, but Katie's departure made things easier. "You home?" Missy said, embracing me in the kitchen. That was a long day. I handed Missy a cold beer. "Things went well with Kathy?" "Yeah, I'm glad. I half expected her to cause trouble with you. The girls probably helped. We'll be okay after tomorrow." I hope she was right. Maybe I was just worrying about Katie and Missy. "Will you stay over tonight?" She gave my hand a little squeeze. "You couldn't get me out of here if you tried." We didn't have sex, but her presence brought the best sleep I've had since my divorce. "You're keeping a close eye on me." "I won't take advantage of your kindness." Kathy started to fight as we waited for the service to begin. She said, "I know I lied. I just feel uneasy about it." She snorted. "How do you think I feel? I'm an outcast here. I'm a disgrace." I frowned. "No one sees you that way, especially not today." I said, "I'm sorry, Bill. I wish I could undo it." All I wish she'd said, tears welling up, before hurrying off to the bathroom. "It's tough for all of us." Bill, my mother's friend Jean, comforted me, patting my shoulder. "Your mom was wonderful, and we'll all miss her." I kissed her cheek, grateful that Kathy had her mom to support her through. After the funeral, we went to my mother's house. Kathy looked a bit uneasy as she looked for a seat. I took her hand and led her to the table where Missy and my daughters were sitting. "Kathy will always be family despite the divorce. She thanked me with a tear rolling down her cheek. In that moment, I felt like I'd finally let go of the pain she caused. Life moved on. The girls Skype with me weekly while they're at college. Missy and I are going strong, and I'm considering popping the question soon. Katie and I don't chat much, but we're always friendly. She's moving on too, dating a nice divorced dad who's a friend of one of the girls. I wish them the best. Some may say I should forgive her one mistake, but I can't. I may be seen as the villain by some, but I'm at peace with myself.